So we have a super important election coming up for Chapel Hill, for both our town mayor and town council. I think this is important because we're in the midst of multiple crises, and Chapel Hill is no exception. We are still struggling from a global pandemic like many places. We're in the midst of a climate crisis globally. The Triangle region is experiencing crazy housing pricing increases and headed into a housing crisis, as outlined by the Triangle Business Journal. I want to add one more crisis as well, specifically because I think we don't talk about it enough. We're also in an obesity epidemic, and I think you can solve a lot of obesity problems by solving the other issues. For example, more bike lanes means more people biking, which means hopefully healthier people. I think most, if not all, of the candidates agree here. So we have two races here that are with incumbents. We have Karen Stegman defending her seat for town council, and we have town councilwoman Hongbin now running against Pam for the mayor. I want to talk about the mayoral race for a second. Now, I want to preface this by saying I think Hongbin is a really awesome person, although I haven't met her in real life. She continually advocates and cares for Chapel Hill. She is very active on social media and will communicate with anyone that tweets at her or wants clarification, myself included. However, I am getting really frustrated with some conflicting facts, and my goal here is just to figure out what Hongbin's goals are here, because this makes zero sense to me at all, and I think this video's only goal is to figure out what the actual issues are. So here's a Twitter conversation going on I want to read to folks. Natural environment is essential to our health and well-being, especially for the vulnerable and low-resource communities. There will be no effective stormwater mitigation if we continue allowing irresponsible developments, practices of excessive tree cutting, paving, and runoff. LOL Chapel Hill, which is kind of a parody, funny account, but I like a lot. And I promise it's not me. I wish I was that creative. They say, how do we quickly change our mitigation strategies to meet Rod Stevens' recommendations of 450 housing units per year that Chapel Hill needs? How do we protect the environment while allowing housing that people need? So here's the comment that really bothers me. Hongbin says higher density needs to be supported by transit, bike walk connection, trees, parks, commercial and civic amenities. We need a diverse housing supply to maintain the diverse population and vibrancy of Chapel Hill. It requires intentional and comprehensive planning. In fact, because she's responsive, which I give her praise for, I tell her, I guess I'm struggling with understanding how you oppose the Aura development, which I'll get into in a second, that is arguably the largest road in Chapel Hill and met 100-year flood designs and added density to bikeways and future BRT. There's limited places to build, and they met all town guidelines. Which she responds, 100-year storm is a misleading statement. Their engineer admitted at the public hearing the facility is not designed for 100-year storms. For a TOD, its parking ratio is too high, and for a site with significant impacts on 4 creeks in the area, it has too much impervious area. So let's back up a moment. What is this Aura development, and why do we disagree? It is a proposed development at the corner of North Estes Drive and MLK Jr. Boulevard in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. MLK was formerly known as Airport Drive and is actually NC 86 Highway coming from the north. It goes all the way from Highway 40 in the north to downtown Chapel Hill and beyond. In fact, this development, or proposed development, is literally only 1.7 miles according to Google Maps. Not only is this bus distance, it is arguably walking distance and most definitely bike distance. So not only does Chapel Hill already have an awesome bus service along this route, completely free to everyone, the town employees, and what I thought the town council and mayor were pushing for is a BRT or bus rapid transit system. The plan shows the BRT system going up and down MLK, all the way from North Chapel Hill Park and Ride at Caraway Village on Eubanks Road and finishing in Southern Village Park and Ride near Southern Community Park. It literally has an SD station with a BRT stop. On the bottom right of this image is where the proposed development would go. So I'm still struggling here. We have a major road already in use by buses. We already have tons of people invested in building BRT infrastructure along this route. The BRT system is also going to have bike lanes, which again, I'm a huge proponent of, and they literally advertise it on the BRT website. This makes zero sense to me. So I get that people miss the forest that used to be there. I like forests. I love them. I like biking in Carolina North. But this is private land, and it was completely legal to cut it down, which Chapel Borough had multiple articles on that covered this. And there are few locations available for build-out along MLK that are this awesome to build out. I mean, this is Estes Road and MLK are major arteries in Chapel Hill, and we need more housing that people keep talking about. Housing prices are out of control. Another point, like let's be realistic about what we're getting. It's like a 4 to 5 story buildings. Like 5 stories tall, max. It's not huge. It would be comical if people are opposed to this if it wasn't so sad. Like, it's pathetically small. I personally would have loved to see 8 to 10 stories minimum and way more density, while Hongbin seems to argue against this development existing at all. Okay, so let's agree to disagree. I think it's a great location for development with the BRT, bike lanes, major road arteries. Hongbin's argument is technically against flooding. We will give her the benefit of the doubt that she is pro-building, like her original comment, even though I find this hard to believe based on this conversation. But that this is a flooding issue, not a housing issue. I get that. We have flooding problems in Chapel Hill, so I'm empathetic to her concerns. I've seen places flood. I've seen the streams flood. Like, it's not awesome. So I'm not a civil engineer. Hongbin's not a civil engineer. We could argue all day long about flooding. We should probably talk to an expert, right? So she's saying here in this tweet that it would not meet 100-year flood concerns. Luckily for us, all the meetings are recorded. So let's go look at that.
And it mentioned about that the design of the stormwater device is as currently designed, that these measures fully manage the pre-development versus post-development runoff rate for the 1, 2, and 25-year storm, and the runoff volume for the 2-year storm as prescribed by the town rules. And then it also said, by rerunning the calculation, we further find that we are also managing some of the additional runoff volumes for the 15 and 100-year storm events, thus exceeding the town's current standards. So that's my question. Can the applicant explain what does it mean by fully manage, and it also manage? What does it mean? What because the council has been heard in the previous hearings that the facility is able to manage 100-year storm, and it's not going to exceed the peak volume of 100-year storm. So what does this, it seems to say it only, the design of the facility is to manage 1, 2, and 25-year storm, but just by calculation, it seems like it also does not exceed 50 and 100-year storm. So can you explain that?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So Hunter Freeman.
Okay, let me interrupt here. Hunter Freeman's LinkedIn profile is publicly available. He seems to be a civil engineer. He's been working since 1998, where he graduated from Vanderbilt University. He specifically says he's within hydrology, land development specialist. He's also a member of the American Society of Civil Engineers, and he follows the Sierra Club. He also lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, which means he has a vested interest here. He is a local. I'm going to assume good intent. This seems like the exact type of person you would want assigned from an engineering firm to work on flood control for our town.
From McAdams, representing the developer and the stormwater side of this project. So what we mean by fully managed is that we are, as stated, reducing the peak flow from the site in the post-development condition to equal to or below pre-development levels at every point of discharge from the site for those storms. So 1 year, 2 year, 25-year, 50-year, and 100-year storms are all managed for peak flow. In addition, the difference in runoff volume for the 2-year storm is managed for water quality purposes. And so the peak flow is above and beyond town ordinances, and the volume is in accordance with town ordinances.
So this video is already long enough. I know people get bored about town politics. The town council ended up approving this. The only 2 nays, meaning they did not want to move forward with the development, were from Pam and Hongbin. So you could argue this is not actually a great deciding factor to choose between Pam and Hongbin for mayor. However, I'm confused. What Hongbin is saying doesn't match what that civil engineer just said. In another thread with me, she clarifies further. What she really means is about rezoning from R1 to OI3, a significant increase in density and development, which she didn't say in the town council meeting as far as I could find. I mean, it's several hours long, so you could look for yourself. And if you listen to the town council meeting further, she was trying to compare the forest pre-timber harvesting versus the conditions now. However, this is not fair, and it makes no sense to me. That's a separate issue. It's private land. It was fully legal to harvest it, and the town worked with that developer, and they lost. The developer timber harvested. That is not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is the engineers were able to fit more density on OI3, but still meet 100-year floodwater versus for literal undeveloped land, meaning it's going to be better after development than it is right now. So honestly, I think Hongbin is being misleading here. We need more details, and while I doubt something nefarious is going on, I feel like my confusion is warranted. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it starts more constructive debate about issues in Chapel Hill.